We have a packed show for you this morning, but we start with breaking news. Former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton have both agreed to testify before the House Oversight Committee, marking a major development in the ongoing congressional investigation into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The Clintons failed to show up to testify last month after being subpoenaed. The House was set to vote this week on holding them both in contempt of Congress when the Clintons decided to now testify. We'll have more on this coming up later in the show. But first, the partial government shutdown now entering another day. Live pictures right now from Washington, D.C. as Congress goes back to the bargaining table today. The president saying we're close to a deal.
Thank you, Chairwoman Fox and Ranking Member.
On the government shutdown, do you think there could be a resolution to this issue? And have you gotten assurances from House Republicans?
Well, I spoke with Speaker Johnson, I spoke with Leader Thune, and I think they're pretty close to a resolution. You know, we were at 5.6% GDP, and we lost 1.5 points because of the 42-day shutdown. Think of that. We would have been at 7. Nobody ever saw a number like 7. And I think, Howard, probably 1.5 points was the number, right?
1.5 for the shutdown. Exactly right.
And it's very bad for our country. But despite that, we have the highest numbers we've ever had. You know, we're doing well. We're going right through it. But I will say that I spoke with Senator Schumer numerous times, and I don't think they want to see a shutdown either.
And then this on Truth Social from the president saying, I am working hard with Speaker Johnson to get the current funding deal, which passed in the Senate last week, through the House and to my desk. Well, I will sign it into law immediately. We need to get the government open, and I hope all Republicans and Democrats will join me in supporting this bill and send it to my desk without delay. There can be no changes at this time, he says. We will work together in good faith to address the issues that have been raised, but we cannot have another long, pointless, and destructive shutdown that will hurt our country so badly. One that will not benefit Republicans or Democrats. I hope everyone will vote yes, he says. Let's bring in host of the What's Right show, Sam Mirjovsky. Sam, good to have you on here with us today. Thanks for joining us. Both sides are at odds over ICE funding, primarily with the current events taking place in cities like Minneapolis. Let's talk about your take on what's going on with the spending package.
Well, Vanessa, thanks for having me. This feels like a kind of a deja vu situation. We were here some months ago, and of course that shutdown was long. I don't think this one is going to go nearly as long. In fact, I think the whole stalemate might even end today. The House is scheduled to vote on it later today. So, this particular situation may pass pretty quickly, but I mean, it's a new era in Washington, so we never know.
Yeah, you're right. And, I'm hoping it passes quickly, too. Like you just mentioned, we're expecting some headway today there in the Senate and also the House. But, it's kind of crazy to me. We talk about this almost every day here on the morning show, Sam, that the good guys have turned into the bad guys when it comes to the Democrats. They're wanting to take away funding from our men and women in blue in uniform who are protecting our country. We talk about ICE. We watched the Grammys the other night. I didn't watch. I saw the clips on social media, but they were wearing anti-ICE pins, these Hollywood activists and artists and actresses and actors wearing anti-ICE pins. And when did they become the good guys and ICE become the bad guys? And now you have the Democrats in Congress saying, we're not going to want to pass this package because it gives funding to ICE.
Well, Vanessa, I'm actually glad you're asking that. I think it's pretty simple and straightforward. The moment that it became obvious to the Democrats that this administration was dismantling their voting machine and their basically a wholesale reorganization of demographics in this country that favored basically favored the Democratic Party. I think this is everything that we see right now, all this opposition to ICE, is the Democrats realizing that the jig is up. Did you see, for example, the just a little preview of the numbers for the 2030 census. And, you know, it's as many as 17 House seats would shift over to Republicans if the 2030 census comes anywhere near to how it's looking, how it's trending at this point. This is really what it was all about: bringing as many people into the country, many of them illegally, many of them through executive actions, so somewhat dubious, going around Congress, and then putting them into blue states, boosting blue districts, Democrat districts, getting House seats, and whether these people voted in the election or not. Really is secondary. We were able to. They were able to basically boost these blue states, these blue districts, and gain seats. It was a complete heist. So I'm, you know, again, I think that the Democrats are in a full panic and are pulling out all the stops.
Yeah, you're right. And that's exactly what they were trying to do, is get all of these illegals in so they could have more representation in these blue cities and blue states. But when it comes back to, Sam, what's going on with, you almost have to stay ahead of them. And President Trump, I say this often, is always 10 steps ahead of everyone. The work continues there in Minnesota, particularly. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem saying that ICE agents will now wear body cameras. You have to stay ahead of not only the left and the Democrats, you have to stay ahead of the fake news media as well, because if we look at the two fatalities that happened in recent weeks there in Minneapolis, they spin stories, they make up stories. You see a lot of people slowing down the videos from cell phones, coming up with their own conclusions. And so now they're putting body cameras on our ICE agents. Let's hear from President Trump and then get your reaction.
Kristi Noem just announced that you're deploying body cameras to Minneapolis. What's your thinking behind this decision, and do you want to see this?
Well, it wasn't my decision. I would have, I leave it to her. They generally tend to be good for law enforcement because people can't lie about what's happening. So it's generally speaking, I think 80% good for law enforcement. But if she wants to do that, I'm okay with it. Remember one thing: we closed the border. I got elected on a disastrous border, and we have nobody coming in through our border anymore. We had 25 million people come in 4 years through our border. Many of them were murderers and drug dealers and mentally insane from mental institutions and insane asylums. And now we don't have anybody coming in. For 9 months now, they actually report zero. We have zero people coming in, which I find hard to believe, but the Democrats do that report. They tend to be left-leaning that do that report. So I assume it's true. If it's not, it's a very tiny amount of people. But we basically have a tremendously perfect, strong border. And also, crime levels are at the lowest point they've been in 125 years. Since 1900, we have the best numbers. And that's despite the fact that we had a lot of criminals and murderers. 11,888 murderers came in. And we have the lowest numbers that we've had in 125 years. So, we're doing a good job. If she wants to do the camera thing, that's okay with me.
I think it's a great idea, because that way, Sam, you don't have, like I just mentioned, the fake news media and all of these trolls on the internet who sit behind their computers every day trying to decipher what's going on. And all of a sudden, they're experts in the law enforcement field, making up stories and coming up with their own conclusions. Now we'll have body cam footage, and that footage doesn't lie.
Well, let me first say that you're absolutely right about Trump being 10 steps ahead. And one great example of this is when you go back to last year and the one big beautiful bill that passed. It funded DHS and ICE operations through, I think, 2029, $75 billion. So when we talk about the shutdown and what's going on right now, and the Democrats pitching a fit over funding, it doesn't really matter. Trump's priorities are funded, and he's playing the long game. Now, the body cameras. Yeah, I'm a talk show host. I'm also a practicing attorney, and I've handled, unfortunately, some pretty egregious police shooting cases. And I can tell you these body cameras are fantastic. And Trump is right. Most of the time, they exonerate the police. But if we talk about Renee Good, that was the woman, the activist that was in her car, and her wife told her, drive, baby, drive, and there, I believe, was either a phone or a body camera, but there was a point of view video from one of the officers, and that's you notice they really dropped talking about Renee Good because of that video. It clearly showed the command for her to stop. It was there on tape. It captured the thud of her hitting the officer and the shots that came subsequent to that. And, so the more body camera footage out there of, and getting these incidents, this is another thing I'll say, getting these incidents from the very beginning and not allowing these insurrectionists, these crazy people out there to frame the narrative and start the tape, only after they get a reaction from officers, I think is hugely important.
You're right. I agree with you on all fronts there. And again, when it comes to funding ICE, DHS, we're all about that here, and we support our law enforcement officers. Again, a vote is expected today. Let's hope they'll get that passed as soon as possible. Another bill, Sam, that we're watching closely is the SAVE Act to further secure our elections. Wouldn't you think this is a no-brainer? But Democrats don't want to secure our elections. And it goes back to what you were mentioning just minutes ago, how they had the open borders and wanted these illegals to come into the different cities to get more control over their representation. But President Trump recently said, Sam, if Democrats don't cheat, they can't win.
I would think that it's an admission that you're cheating in elections if you're actively fighting voters identifying themselves and having to prove their identity. I mean, to me, it's an absolute no-brainer. And I've debated this issue with many people on the other side, and I've really never gotten a straight, coherent answer, because voter suppression is nonsense. ID is required for literally everything that we do. So, I don't buy the voter suppression argument one bit. I don't know. I've been to Europe. My parents immigrated to this country from what was Czechoslovakia, and even countries in the former Eastern Bloc require identification, ID. You have to check the ID, vote in person. I mean, this is all very basic stuff. So I'm watching this bill very closely. I know what's going to happen, and this is, it's going to come down to the Senate, and it's going to come down to the filibuster. And again, I think the Senate, this is the most critical thing that Leader Thune and the Republicans in the Senate need to get across the finish line, or else we're done. America is, no exaggeration, America is over. This is the most important thing. And I think they may want to rethink some of their precious Senate rules and consider a straight majority vote on this to get it across the finish line.
I agree. Let's take a look at what some of the Congress members are saying on social media. We'll start with Chuck Schumer. He said this: the SAVE Act is nothing more than Jim Crow 2.0. It would disenfranchise millions of Americans. Every single Senate Democrat will vote against any bill that contains it. Speaker Johnson should tell SAVE Act Republicans to stand down, or else this shutdown will be on them. Now, on the Republican side, we have Representative Andy Ogles, who posted this: the SAVE Act is non-negotiable. Without it, we lose our country. Sam, you just mentioned that. He goes on to say we cannot give up our leverage. Then we have this from Congressman Brandon Gill, who's been a big advocate. He says, I just sent a letter to Mitch McConnell asking his committee to stop stalling the SAVE Act. 83% of Americans want proof of citizenship to vote, yet the Senate has done nothing for 300 days. The House did its job. The Senate needs to do theirs. Sam, he's right. The House passed this early last year, and it's just been stalling in the Senate. What's taking so long? What is Thune doing?
Well, the Senate is an interesting place, right? I mean, it's there's a lot of accommodation. There's a lot of emphasis on collegiality. Things do move slowly, and you have Republicans in the Senate who are, I guess I'll put it this charitably, are from states where where their seats aren't necessarily secure, so they have to kind of cater to Democrats and the Democrat ideas. Um, you know, I'm not. That's what my point is, that this whole thing really rests on the Senate, and they don't have. The reason it's stalling is because they recognize that they don't have the 60 votes. But I'm confident. I'm confident, based on the makeup of the Senate, that 51 votes would get it across the finish line. That they would get 51 votes, and so it really comes down to Senate rules. I'm telling you, if the shoe was on the other foot and there was a Democratic priority and there was a 53 Democrat majority in the Senate, they would do away with the 60 vote filibuster threshold. They would get rid of that thing so fast, our heads would spin. So I'm worried that Republicans, for whatever reason, have not brought their fighting shoes, and it's time to put them on and get moving.
Yeah, put your dukes up. Time to fight for the American people. Sam, how can people watch you? Love your show, love what you're about, and I know that you're there on the West Coast. I want you to come back on because there's a lot of talk going on with California right now, and we don't have time to talk about that today. One of our new favorite independent journalists is there, Nick Shirley, to expose some corruption going on there. So we'd love to have you back on. I know you're following that as well. But in the meantime, where can people watch your show? I know you have a website.
Yeah, so it's what'srightshow.com. The show is What's Right. And I'm based in Las Vegas, and I call myself Nevada's favorite recovering Californian. We cover national issues, so everything you talk about, I talk about every day. So you can find my podcast, go online, find me wherever you get your podcast, and I love what I do. But you're right, California is a great topic and one of my favorites. I escaped from there, and for good reason.
Oh, yes. We are keeping a close eye. And, I've spent a lot of time when I was on the campaign trail with the president, Sam, during the election. I spent a lot of time there, and there are a lot more Republicans in California than what people want you to believe. But good that you escaped and that you have a voice for the people all over the country, but specifically there where you are in the West Coast too. But come back on, because I want to talk about California with you. In the meantime, everyone, go follow his podcast, follow his website. Sam, thanks for joining us this morning.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, Vanessa. See you soon.
Now back to the Clintons. Bill and Hillary have agreed to testify in the House Oversight Committee's investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. Now this comes just as lawmakers were preparing to take the rare step of holding the former president and former Secretary of State in contempt of Congress. There has been a lot of back and forth between Congress and the Clintons' attorneys. Now here we have a letter from the House Oversight Committee telling them they are not above the law and will not get special treatment. This letter from the House Oversight to the Clintons' attorneys. Representative James Comer had this to say before the vote this week. Listen.
Thank you, Chairwoman Fox and Ranking Member McGovern. I urge the Rules Committee to grant a prompt rule for the House's consideration of both the resolution recommending that the House of Representatives find former President of the United States, William J. Clinton, in contempt of Congress for refusal to comply with a subpoena duly issued by the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, and the resolution recommending that the House of Representatives find former Secretary of State, Hillary R. Clinton, in contempt of Congress for refusal to comply with a subpoena duly issued by the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Subpoenas are not mere suggestions. They carry the force of law and require compliance. Former President Clinton and former Secretary Clinton were legally required to appear for a deposition before the House Oversight Committee. They refused, and actions have consequences. Last July, Republicans and Democrats on the House Oversight Committee's Federal Law Enforcement Subcommittee unanimously approved a voice vote, a motion to subpoena former President Clinton and former Secretary Clinton for depositions as part of our investigation into the federal government's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell criminal cases. On August 5th, I issued subpoenas to them. The testimonies of President Clinton and Secretary Clinton are critical to understanding Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking network and the ways he sought to curry favor and influence to shield himself from scrutiny. In fact, then Secretary of State Clinton would have signed off on the annual Trafficking in Persons report. In 2010, under Secretary Clinton's tenure, that report began covering trafficking within the United States. Given her service as Secretary of State, she could provide firsthand information about the federal government's efforts to combat international sex trafficking. Their testimony may also inform how Congress can strengthen laws to better combat human trafficking. Since issuing the subpoenas, the Oversight Committee has acted in good faith. We've offered flexibility on scheduling. We've tried to accommodate. The response we received was not cooperation, but defiance, repeated delays, excuses, and obstruction. President Clinton and Secretary Clinton claimed to have been treated unfairly because the Oversight Committee accepted written statements under penalty of law from former U.S. Attorneys Gonzalez, Holder, Lynch, Sessions, and Garland, as well as former FBI Director Comey. Those written statements were accepted because none of those officials recalled any information relevant to the Epstein investigation, nor could we find any evidence that they did have personal relationships with Epstein. By contrast, the Oversight Committee required in-person testimony from former U.S. Attorney General Barr and former U.S. Secretary of Labor and U.S. Attorney Acosta, both Republicans, because they possessed information directly relevant to the investigation. The Clintons had documented relationships with Epstein and Maxwell, including President Clinton's trips with Epstein and Maxwell, evidenced by numerous photographs, flight log records, wedding invitations, and other materials. We repeatedly informed the Clintons' attorneys that a written statement would not be sufficient. The subpoenas required a deposition. Federal courts have consistently held that witnesses may not impose their own conditions upon the manner of congressional inquiry. Yet President Clinton and Secretary Clinton attempted to do exactly that, submitting a brief, bulleted written statement that was neither comprehensive nor responsive to the Oversight Committee's many unanswered questions. No person, not a former president or a private citizen, may willfully defy a duly issued congressional subpoena without consequence. And there can be no doubt that this bipartisan congressional subpoena was lawful and duly issued, as Ranking Member Garcia confirmed for the record during the committee's markup. The Clintons have flatly refused to appear at all, despite repeated warnings that the Oversight Committee would move forward with contempt proceedings. 2 weeks ago, the Oversight Committee voted on a bipartisan basis to hold both President Clinton and Secretary Clinton in contempt of Congress for refusing to comply with their subpoenas. President Clinton must be held accountable for his actions. Secretary Clinton must be held accountable for her actions. The Rules Committee and the full House must take this opportunity to uphold Congress's investigative authority. And we must do so to demonstrate to the American people that justice is applied equally to everyone, regardless of position, pedigree, or prestige.
Well, the Clintons' legal team informed the committee late yesterday that the Clintons accepted the terms of the request and will appear for depositions on mutually agreed dates. Comer says he will consult with committee members before deciding whether to proceed with contempt votes. Now to a bill in Arizona legislature that's gaining traction today, the Sansone mRNA Bioweapons Prohibition Act. The bill would legally classify modified mRNA injections and related products as biological weapons under state law. With us here today is Dr. Joseph Sansone. Doctor, thank you so much for being here with us today. Dr. Sansone, this bill would include COVID-19 vaccines as biological weapons. Tell us about what's taking place there in Arizona.
Sure. This is actually the second state to get this bill introduced. It was introduced in Minnesota by Representative Shane Mecklin, and it's been introduced in Arizona by Representative Rachel Jones-Keschel. What this bill is doing is it's recognizing that the mRNA nanoparticle injections and products are already illegal according to existing state law, and it creates a civil and criminal liability for non-enforcement. So that there's a civil cause of action in the bill, so you'll be able to sue if government officials don't enforce the law, and it also subjects them to a criminal penalty as much as life imprisonment if death results as a result of not enforcing this law. The reality is these are biological and technological weapons of mass destruction. In my case here in Florida, I have expert affidavits attesting to that, even from Dr. Francis Boyle, who was the law professor who wrote the 1989 Biological Weapons and Anti-Terrorism Act, which passed both houses unanimously in Congress, stating that these are, in fact, weapons of offensive biowarfare. And so what we're trying to do is create pressure everywhere possible, trying to get this bill introduced in many states as possible. The bottom line is the biggest voting bloc in America are the people that have been poisoned with these injections. And the reality is most people we know will have a shortened lifespan because of these injections. I don't see that to frighten people. I have medical conditions, and because of that, I won't live as long as I would without them. If you're giving people chronic illnesses and diseases, they're not going to live as long. And a recent paper came out in September in the American Journal of Physicians and Surgeons, literally stating that the COVID vaccine violated the Biological Weapons Convention. And in some of the preliminary research coming out of Dr. Vila's clinic here in Florida shows that 74% of the people injected have damaged immune systems. So that's a ticking time bomb.
Right. And on your social media account, you said that the vaccines are mass murderers, responding to a post that the vaccines didn't save lives, that it took lives. Tell us about that. I mean, it goes off what you were just saying, that we're seeing people more and more with illnesses that are going back to getting the COVID-19 vaccines.
Sure. And I should say I'm a psychotherapist, not an MD. But so if you look at the Japanese data where they did the research there, and it was pretty comprehensive. And what they determined was they had an excess 610,000 deaths there. And if you translate for population, that would be an underreporting factor of VAERS on the VAERS system here in the U.S. of 41. So that would mean we'd have 1,558,000 people that died from the injections. But you have to keep in mind, that's not the people who are getting sick right now of cancer, the people who are getting heart attacks now, or having autoimmune diseases and that kind of thing. So the chronic illnesses that are continuing to happen, the death toll is much larger and is going to be much larger. I have an affidavit in my case from Richard Hirschman saying that 50% of the cadavers he's seen in the last few months have these white fibrous blood clots, which are unnatural in them. So, and they've been pulled out of live people as well. So the idea here is maximum pressure. You cannot be America first and look the other way while American citizens are being targeted with biological and technological weapons of mass destruction. Just doesn't fly whatsoever. And most people we know are damaged from these injections, either directly through the injections or indirectly through the involuntary environmental exposure from shedding.
Yeah, and if passed, this bill would make it a felony, like you just mentioned, to distribute the mRNA. Like you also said, now in 2 states being looked at, we're looking to pass legislation on that. What can people do if they want to help get this bill on the table in their state, Doctor?
Well, right on my website, which is josephsansone.com, I have an article pinned toward the top there. It says, "I'm going to war. Will you join me?" And I have a version of this bill for all 50 states. I also have a federal version as well. And so all you really need to do is go on ChatGPT or Grok or something and ask who your top health freedom legislators are in your state that are against the COVID vaccine and get their contact info and reach out to them and call them and send them this bill. That's all I'm doing. And here's the deal. We only need to get this prohibited. And if we get one jurisdiction anywhere to recognize that these are weapons, which they are, the whole house of cards is going to fall down. And the reason people are afraid to touch this issue, the fact that these are weapons, is because that is the actual winning strategy. And so the more we see bills popping up talking about severe penalties like life imprisonment and stuff like that, probably what's going to happen at a certain point is the federal government's going to pull back and take the shots off the market, because there's a lot of people who are complicit here from the top all the way down. And the bottom line is they've poisoned your family members. The people you know and love have been targeted with weapons of mass destruction. If that doesn't wake you up, I don't know what will.
Yeah, you're right. And we saw during the COVID days, doctor, that a lot of companies would let their employees go if they did not take the vaccine. So it goes back to my body, my choice. And the government had, and these companies, corporations had so much control over the American people. And we're just giving them jabs left and right in order to keep their job. And so like the doctor just said, Dr. Joseph Sansone, if you live in a state and you know, you have a representative, Congress member who is against these vaccines, send them the bill, and hopefully we can get this passed. Dr. Joseph Sansone, give us your website one more time for people to follow you and get more information.
It's josephsansone.com, and you could be, subscribe to my newsletter. It's free. And just, we need maximum pressure. They're trying to make us think this is normal. It's not normal as you watch your friends and families continue to get sick from this.
You're absolutely right. Keep up the great work. Come back and see us if there's any updates. We'd love to do a follow-up. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you. You're the best, Vanessa.
Thank you. Well, meanwhile, in Washington, a MAHA roundtable full of doctors, experts, and victims of Big Pharma. Our Kara Castronova is there speaking to a woman who is a victim of ADHD drugs. Watch.
Hey, everybody. Kara Castronova with Lindell TV here with Danielle Gansky, who is a Big Pharma injured individual, and she has a very interesting story to tell that a lot of people need to pay attention to. She was injured by Adderall and antidepressants, and I think that doctors are prescribing these drugs so quickly for young people, and their parents don't really know how to ask questions, or they don't suspect that the doctor would mislead them. So it's very unfortunate. But can you tell us a little bit about your experience with being injured by these drugs?
Sure, yeah. So I was put on antidepressants when I was 7 years old. It started with ADHD drugs because I couldn't sit still in class. I was fidgety. So the teacher said to my parents, like, you should get her evaluated for like ADHD. And very quickly I was diagnosed and medicated. So it started with Adderall, which made me so moody, so cranky and anxious that they medicated me with Prozac from there, and just more side effects and more drugs. And I ended up being on, psychiatric drugs my whole life. And then as I got older in my 20s, I finally wanted to come off to see who I was underneath all these chemicals. And I was taken off the way doctors are taught to take people off over a couple of weeks, which is the standard medical guidelines they're taught to use. And that resulted in a severe neurological injury. So I was in and out of hospitals, bedridden, lost 20 pounds. I was really, really sick, and my body developed physical dependence on these drugs because my brain had developed on them. So I had to reinstate, not because I wanted to, but I literally can't function without them. And now I'm basically stuck on antidepressants that I was put on as a child, and I'm not really able to come off of them. And it's insane.
What did the side effects feel like?
When I was in withdrawal, which is called protracted withdrawal injury, it's basically like a neurological injury. I was like, my full body was shaking. I actually have a video of me in the hospital shaking, and brain fog and zaps throughout my body, like electrical zaps. And just, it makes you feel like so delirious and dissociated. And it's the worst pain I ever experienced in my life, more than I can even put into words. But it was really awful, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
I know, it sounds terrible. And I know that they're prescribing these medications more and more for young kids. Is that your experience? Were there other kids at school that were taking the same drugs?
Yeah, it was totally the culture. With the school I was at, I really grew up in a generation of kids being mass prescribed these drugs. Everyone had ADHD, but what really even is that when you're just a kid and you want to have fun, and we don't fit into these like molds, So it's really insane. And I think it's just, they're way too overprescribed, and they really don't have studies on the long-term effects of these drugs on developing brains. So I like to say I am the long-term study they failed to do.
Right, that's crazy. When you were younger, this is just a quick question. Do you think that maybe, because you said you were fidgety in class, and I was too, very fidgety, and I was diagnosed actually with ADHD when I was younger, but I didn't take the medications. Do you think that maybe like running a mile and doing some jumping jacks would have possibly alleviated that anxiety?
Yeah, definitely. I think that they expect you to sit still, like under fluorescent lights for 7-8 hours a day. Like, what kid wants to do that? Like, I think I just learned differently. I didn't want to be in that environment. Doesn't mean I have something fundamentally wrong with my brain that needs to be corrected with medication. So I think there's different ways for kids to be and behave, and we're all not going to fit into that mold. And just because we don't doesn't mean, we should be diagnosed and there's something pathologically wrong with us.
Right. So, and now that you're taking, are you working towards stopping the antidepressants altogether?
Yeah, so I had to reinstate, obviously, because the withdrawals were so severe. But, I found a doctor who's part of the movement that I'm in, so she understands that slow tapering can mean over years. So it could take me years to come off. I go less than 1% every 6 weeks, which is like the tiniest dose. I work with a compounding pharmacy that helps me because pharmaceutical companies don't make doses small enough to safely taper off. So I'm lucky to have found her, but not a lot of people aren't as lucky as me, and they're figuring it out, cutting capsules and counting beads and forced to become their own pharmacist. And just, it's really crazy. There's a whole hidden epidemic. People don't realize people cannot come off their psych drugs or get injured trying to do so.
Right. And I don't think a lot of parents realize that when your child takes these at a young age, like you said, your brain developed on these drugs. So your brain sort of needs them now, and you have to fight extra hard to get off them. So we're praying for you, and I know that you're going to be able to do it. And thank you for being brave enough to share your story. What would you say to other young people that are experiencing depressing thoughts or maybe have anxiety in class and can't sit still? What would your advice be to those kids that are thinking about, or their parents are thinking about, prescribing these antidepressants?
Yeah, so I think, before you decide, I think that should be last resort, because it is not worth it. If you get one of these, there's something called PSSD where you can get a permanent neurological disorder even just from taking it once. It's happened from people taking it short term, and it doesn't stop once you stop the drug. It is not worth that risk. There has to be other alternatives like fixing your diet or getting adequate sleep, just simple things to try to change. I don't think it's really worth the risk, and they don't tell you about these risks. So that's really my job to tell people.
I would say, if I was, again, I'm not a parent, so I don't want to give parental advice, but if the kid is hyper, if I was, when I was younger, if I was forced to run up and down, in the playground and then do some jumping jacks and then some push-ups, I probably would have paid attention better in class. That's what I'm thinking. So maybe if they could implement things like that in schools, or if a parent has a child with ADHD, put them on an exercise routine to relieve them of that ADHD, because ultimately that's what led to your antidepressant diagnosis, because it's almost like when you cut something on one side, then you cut on the other, then you cut on the other, and it keeps getting smaller. Like the ADHD medicine's an upper, and you're two up, so we have to bring you down with a downer. Now you're two down, so here's another upper, and they keep giving you more and more meds, and these kids are so over-medicated, and it really is a national crisis, in my opinion, that needs to be looked at. And I'm so glad that Secretary Kennedy and others here in Washington, D.C. are finally paying attention to these drugs that they're giving kids without even really thinking about it and without even thinking of alternate things that they could do. So thank you for sharing. Could people follow you in your journey?
Yeah, definitely. You can follow me on Instagram at Danielle Gansky. I'm also on TikTok and Twitter, same name, Danielle Gansky. And yeah, I agree. I'm Secretary Kennedy. I'm so grateful for him for taking on the psychiatric drug crisis, because it's really needed. And to have someone in his position in leadership to be so brave to take this on is incredible.
Thank you for what you're doing and bringing light to this, and also fighting for young kids, and just stay healthy. And we're praying for you. Like, really, it's like your generation that will help the next one not have the same issues with these psychiatric drugs that are overprescribed in America. Thank you so much, Danielle.
Thank you.
Now to a huge breakthrough in the fight against autism in children. Moms, listen up. HHS Secretary Bobby Kennedy just announced that folate deficiency in a child's brain can lead to autism, and he's recommending what's known as leucovorin. He says up to 60% of deficient children can have improved communication if they take it.
Research has revealed that folate deficiency in a child's brain can lead to autism. We have also identified an exciting therapy that may benefit large numbers of children who suffer from autism. Peer-reviewed literature has documented that up to 60% of folate-deficient children with ASD can have improved verbal communications if given leucovorin. I have instructed NIH, FDA, and CMS to help doctors treat children appropriately. Jay will help tell that story, which...
Again, that drug is called leucovorin. Ask your pediatrician, a trusted doctor who is willing to help your child. Have them tested for folate deficiency and go from there. And if that pediatrician says no, go somewhere else. Bobby Kennedy is a blessing. He's trying to help all of the kids. The autism rate is skyrocketing, but he's finding answers and he's telling us what those answers are. We just need doctors to listen. Now to more breaking news this morning. Ed Martin has been removed from his weaponization role in the DOJ. It's a unit set up under Attorney General Pam Bondi. Well, Ed Martin has been drained of his resources while trying to lead up the effort. He's been stripped of the position this week. He will remain as a pardon attorney, but it's a much lesser role. It's actually a demotion. So why was he demoted? Well, sources from within the Department of Justice say Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche is holding up and blocking the president's wishes. Ed Martin worked hard to secure arrests for fraud and more. Todd Blanche, we're told, has faced criticism for how the DOJ released the Epstein files. Blanche oversees day-to-day Justice Department operations, and sources describe Martin's leadership as being limited by Blanche. So there's an internal power shift going on in the DOJ. We'll keep you updated as we learn more from the inside. When we come back, Dan Bongino, he breaks the internet as he returns to his show for the first time in a year, and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, he visits NASA. We'll take you there next.
Let's face it, you can't trust Big Pharma. They've already tried to block ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and raise prices on everything from antibiotics to your daily meds. Well, there's good news. All Family Pharmacy is standing up for medical freedom and helping people get the treatments they actually want. My family and I use them all the time. They made it easy and affordable without the runaround. While other pharmacies are jacking up prices, they've actually dropped theirs. Ivermectin now starts at just $2 a capsule. Use my promo code Lindell10, you get an extra 10% off of that. You need ivermectin, antibiotics, or methylene blue, you name it, they've got it. They make it simple. You fill out a short online form, a licensed doctor reviews it, and your meds ship fast right to your front door. If you want to be prepared and have your medications on hand, this is your new pharmacy. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Promo code Lindell10 saves you even more. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Promo code Lindell10. For the first time ever, we're bringing you MyPillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our MyPillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our MyPillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping.
This is not about Wall Street. It's not about dividends. It's not about stock buybacks. This is about warriors. And how quickly can we deliver them the most lethal capabilities? Ultimately, you hand those tools to us, and it's our job to defend you and to defend this country. On behalf of taxpayers and warfighters, you're going to win. We have to dominate the space domain. That means we'll ensure that we keep building rockets and engines and landers that you make here at scale and at speed. Go fast, take risks, and continue to build the best to build in America. Our job is to be the hammer when necessary, but hopefully never have to use it. It's called deterrence. But if we must use it, we will fight to win.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth visiting with NASA as part of the Arsenal of Freedom tour. Hegseth toured Cape Canaveral and the Kennedy Space Center. He was welcomed, as you can see, with applause, and they went on a test flight aboard a Northrop, that is, F-5 Tiger II jet. Afterwards, he spoke to workers at the Blue Origin rocket manufacturing facility. And we don't have that, but that's okay. Jeff Bezos was also there and highlighted the role of American aerospace manufacturing and national security and space leadership. So it was an awesome day for the Secretary of War. And how cool is that? Getting to ride in that fighter jet along with NASA. Well, Dan Bongino is back, breaking the internet literally on his first day back on air. There were so many viewers, the system crashed, but not for long. Dan started his show with a tribute to Charlie Kirk, and he ended his show with a call from President Trump, speaking on a lot of topics, including crime in the country.
2% of the people create 90% of the crime. Think of that. So when you start moving these guys out, you have a huge impact on crime. You've got sick people. These are 2%. Think of that stat. So you don't have to arrest the entire population.
Right.
2% of the people create, and it makes sense, right? You know, they create crimes every day over and over. Then you put them in jail, they come out, they do 5 crimes in one day. These are sick people, and they're bad people. And they'll never be good, by the way, for the liberals that want to make them, bring them into a wonderful person of society. They go, we can bring them back into society. No, because eventually they'll kill you. You know, Eventually they will kill you. But 2% of the people create 90% of the crime. And we take those two, and we go after those 2%.
The president also speaking about what's going on in Minnesota. Here's what he had to say.
We want one thing in Minnesota. We can get out of there really fast. We want their prisoners. They've got jails with murderers, drug lords, rapists. They've got jails with the worst people. And they come out, you know, Tren de Aragua, they come out, the worst gangs. We have the worst gangs. They have gangs that are so bad they look at you and they knife you up. You know, we had it in Washington. They're all gone, by the way. They're all gone. But all we want is they have a lot of prisoners. They call it sanctuary city, and sanctuary cities are a disaster. So I put out an order, anybody that does a sanctuary city not getting any money. Let's see what happens. You know, they'll get wiped out by these liberal courts. But the people understand. Nobody could do the job that we've done. Nobody. There's nobody. They wouldn't, you know, they just go through a system.
Right.
You have to be very tough. Look, I took over a border where 25 million people came into our country, many of them murderers, 11,888 murderers, drug dealers, drug addicts all over the place. They always said they're drug addicts. They're people with trouble, alcoholics. They took over the mental institutions of their country, and they sent every single person in a mental institution over our border with Texas with their open border policies. So we have millions of people. Most of them are bad, to be honest with you, because they're not going to send their good people. They want their good people like we. We don't want to have our good people leave. They only send their bad people. And the best of their people are people that don't work. Those are the best ones. The people that came in, they don't work. And they don't want them either because they don't want to pay welfare. So they've sent all of their people, millions and millions of people. We have to get them out. And by the way, if Republicans don't get them out, you will never win another election as a Republican. If you don't get these people are all pitted, so they vote. And they make all this crap with the voting. Oh, well, you can vote. You can do whatever you want. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy how you can get these people to vote. And if we don't get them out, Republicans will never win another election.
Got to get him out. The Dan Bongino Show is now exclusively on Rumble. Good to have him back to be another voice in the MAGA movement. You're watching My Mornings with Vanessa. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
For the first time ever, we're bringing you My Pillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our My Pillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our My Pillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door, absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping. Are you taking advantage of President Trump's golden age? Or what if I told you can just sit back and earn money as President Trump continues to repair our economy and make America energy independent again? I'm talking about oil royalty checks. With the help of the Oxford Club, thousands of Americans have unlocked this secret hack that has put money back in hardworking American pockets. Financial expert and Lindell TV supporter Mark Litchenfield has showed me how. It's a way to profit from America's energy production that's been working quietly for decades, even when oil companies were struggling. So go to LindellOilBoom.com to find out how this all works and why it's relevant right now. That's LindellOilBoom.com.
America's founders warned that without knowledge and virtue, no nation can remain free. Yet through the steady infiltration of Marxist ideology, we have been stripped of both, and we are no longer a moral and educated people. To save America, we must spark nothing less than a national renaissance. That's why you need Freedom Talk Magazine, the journal of truth and virtue. We cultivate enlightened thinking and principled living, offering unique insights into the issues and remarkable people defining our world. Sign up today for your free subscription to Freedom Talk Magazine and join the new American Renaissance.
We're back looking at Wall Street opening bell just moments ago, taking a look at live numbers from MarketWatch.com. The Dow up again this morning, the S&P 500 also up. The NASDAQ down just a little bit, but we had a great day on Wall Street yesterday. Let's see if we can keep the momentum going on this Tuesday. So that's the current numbers from Wall Street. Now, looking at your news to go as you start your day, there's been a push in Florida to end property taxes. And now the state is one step closer. Governor Ron DeSantis says he's going to leave it up to the voters to decide.
From the property tax situation. It's very important given how that's pinched so many homeowners, particularly our senior citizens who have their homes paid off and they bought it 30 years ago for a certain amount. Now they're being told it's worth so much more and they have to pony up more and more money. It's almost like they have to pay rent to the government just to be able to enjoy their property. And that's wrong. And we need to do something about it.
Yeah, so many people are watching Florida closely, hoping that this passes so it will pave the way for other states as well. You buy a home and you have to pay property taxes on your own home. So the American dream is dwindling for so many people because they can't afford property taxes. And so with them eliminating that, more people can live the American dream and affording a new home. So we're watching Florida closely and see if other states continue to watch them and monitor them. And if that passes, maybe other states will follow suit. Also in the news this morning, as you start your day, Super Bowl Sunday is this coming weekend. And there's a call to boycott because of the NFL's woke stances. So instead of watching Bad Bunny, who is a liberal entertainer, a man who's supposed to be wearing a dress during the halftime performance, a man who told us we better learn Spanish so we can understand his music at halftime, we're switching gears and we're turning our attention to Turning Point USA. TPUSA has announced its all-American halftime show lineup for Sunday, and there are the artists on your screen, including Kid Rock. So make sure you're tuned in for that on social media that will be airing in place of the woke halftime show that the NFL will be showing. So turn off the woke, turn on the good music with Turning Point USA. For news on the go, log on to LindellTV.com. You can also follow us on our social media pages as well. And as always, we leave you today in prayer. Our Bible verse of the day comes from the book of Proverbs. The Bible says this, and I really love this quote: "A fool does not delight in understanding, but only in revealing his own mind." Keep that in mind today. All right, and that'll do it for us here this morning. Thank you so much for joining us for Breaking News 24/7. Make sure you're following me on social media. I'm there as well. And we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Have a good day, America.
Let's face it, you can't trust Big Pharma. They've already tried to block ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and raise prices on everything from antibiotics to your daily meds. Well, there's good news. All Family Pharmacy is standing up for medical freedom and helping people get the treatments they actually want. My family and I use them all the time. They made it easy and affordable without the runaround. While other pharmacies are jacking up prices, they've actually dropped theirs. Ivermectin now starts at just $2 a capsule. Use my promo code Lindell10, you get an extra 10% off of that. You need ivermectin, antibiotics, or methylene blue, you name it, they've got it. They make it simple. You fill out a short online form, a licensed doctor reviews it, and your meds ship fast right to your front door. If you want to be prepared and have your medications on hand, this is your new pharmacy. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Promo code Lindell10 saves you even more. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Promo code Lindell10. For the first time ever, we're bringing you MyPillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our MyPillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our MyPillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping. If you want to drop extra pounds, boost energy levels, and reduce swelling in your legs and feet, then this message is for you. Pure Health Research is on a mission to make America healthy again. And 2 of their best-selling health supplements are leading the way. First is Liver Health Formula. Over 100 million Americans have a sluggish liver that's riddled with fatty deposits. This can kill your metabolism, pile on the pounds, and make you feel tired. Liver Health Formula takes care of that. It supports thriving liver health with special nutrients like artichoke extract and milk thistle. This is one of the easiest ways to slim down and revitalize your energy levels. Next is lymph system support. If you struggle with fluid buildup or swelling in your legs, ankles, and feet, this is for you. The natural ingredients in lymph system support help gently flush away extra fluid and toxins out of your body. And right now, for a limited time, you can get 35% off Liver Health Formula and Lymph System Support, along with 50 plus other health supplements that Pure Health Research has to offer. So head over to purehealthresearch.com and use promo code Lindell at checkout. That's purehealthresearch.com, promo code Lindell to save 35% on your order today.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice. Speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including Lindell TV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to Lindell Lindell TV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country.
With everybody talking about making America healthy again, I thought today'd be a great day to talk to all my fellow patriots about the importance of making your homes healthy again. Well, we have proudly partnered with airwaterhealing.com and their revolutionary whole home air purification system. The V